New York's most exclusive charity gala, glittered under crystal chandeliers. Billionaires, senators, and media elites filled the ballroom, laughing, networking, judging. Then she walked in alone, elegant, calm, invisible. No one rushed to greet her. Whispers followed instead. Curious looks, quiet laughter. She had once belonged here. Now the room treated her like a mistake. Across the hall, her ex-fiancé noticed her and smiled. He raised his voice just enough. "Well, this is unexpected. I didn't think you still had access to places like this." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Phones tilted subtly, recording. Before she could respond, someone bumped into her. Red wine spilled down the front of her dress. "I'm so sorry," the woman said, without meaning it. No one moved to help. No one stopped recording. She stood there, soaked, surrounded by power that had already decided she didn't matter. For a moment, the room waited for her to break. She didn't. She straightened her back, lifted her chin, silent, dignified, and that was when everything changed. Because across the ballroom, one man had stopped watching the crowd and started watching her. She hadn't always been invisible. There was a time when her name opened doors before she ever entered a room. Private schools, old money circles, invitations written in careful ink, people who smiled because it mattered who her family was. But she walked away from all of it. Not because she was naive, because she believed integrity mattered more than inheritance. Because she believed love didn't need protection. Because the man she chose convinced her that standing beside him meant standing for something real. She gave up access, influence, safety. And when things went wrong, the world decided she must have deserved it. The betrayal wasn't loud, it was quiet and efficient. When the relationship collapsed, blame settled on her shoulders with ease. She was difficult. She couldn't adapt. She didn't fit anymore. The same society that once praised her grace now erased her presence. No scandals, no dramatic exits, just doors that stopped opening. She learned something then, something no one teaches women like her. Silence could be armor, dignity could be resistance, and restraint could keep you alive in rooms that wanted you small. She stopped explaining herself, stopped defending her choices, stopped expecting fairness from people who benefited from her absence. Tonight wasn't about revenge. She didn't come to reclaim status or expose anyone. She came because survival sometimes means showing up anyway. Unapologetic, unbroken. She wore elegance like a quiet protest. Not to be noticed, but to remind herself who she had been before they decided she was nothing. As whispers followed her across the ballroom, she didn't flinch. Because she knew the truth, they didn't. She hadn't lost power. She had given it up, thinking love was worth more. The humiliation doesn't come all at once. It's deliberate, layered, enjoyed. Her ex-fiancé spots her across the ballroom and smiles, not with surprise, with permission. He raises his voice, just enough for people nearby to hear. Comments about her poor decisions. Jokes about how some people just don't belong in rooms like this anymore. Laughter spreads in careful circles. Elites lean in, pretending it's harmless banter. Phones come out, not openly, but enough to record. This isn't concern, it's entertainment. Someone asks loudly why she's even here. Another adds, didn't she used to be someone important? Her ex doesn't stop it. He feeds it. He talks about how she wasted opportunities, how walking away from privilege proved she was never smart enough to keep it, how he moved on while she stayed exactly where she deserved. Security notices the attention, but looks away. She's not causing trouble. She is the trouble. A waiter bumps into her. A drink spills down her dress. No apology. The crowd reacts with awkward chuckles, as if humiliation is just another part of the evening's program. For a moment, she considers leaving. Her body turns toward the exit. Her heart pounds. The old instinct, escape quietly, don't make it worse, returns. Then she stops. She remembers every room she walked out of without being seen. Every silence she swallowed to keep the peace. Every time dignity meant disappearance. She straightens, doesn't cry, doesn't shout, doesn't beg. She stays, standing still in a room that wants her to vanish. And that decision, to stand instead of run, is what changes everything. Across the ballroom, away from the noise, a man watches. He doesn't laugh, he doesn't whisper, he doesn't reach for his phone. He stands with a glass untouched in his hand, posture relaxed, eyes sharp, the kind of man people notice only after they realize they should have. Everyone in the room knows his name, not because he seeks attention, but because attention eventually finds him. A billionaire, board-controlled empires, political leverage, media influence measured in silence rather than headlines. Ruthless when necessary, unreadable always. He isn't here for the gala. He's here because he has to be. The board wants reassurance. The press wants a narrative. An inheritance clause, quietly buried in legal language, requires stability. A family image, a wife. Tonight was supposed to be optics, a few smiles, a few photos, a few promises made without saying anything at all. Then he sees her. Not at first. At first he sees the crowd, the way people lean in, the way cruelty circulates like champagne, the way humiliation becomes entertainment when no one expects consequences. Then he sees who they're circling. A woman standing alone, dress stained, back straight. She doesn't defend herself. She doesn't apologize for existing. She doesn't disappear. Most people, when humiliated, either explode or collapse. She does neither. Her face is calm but not blank. Her eyes aren't searching for help. They're focused inward, measuring, containing, control. That's what he notices. Not beauty, not vulnerability. Control. The kind that isn't taught. The kind earned through loss. He watches as her ex speaks again. Louder now. He watches as the crowd responds on cue. He watches security look the other way. And still, she doesn't move. Something shifts, not in the room, in him. He understands something immediately and completely. She is not weak. She is restrained. And restraint in a room full of predators is dangerous. A message buzzes on his phone. Another reminder from his board. Another request for a public appearance with a suitable partner. He looks back at her. The answer is standing in front of him. Not because she needs him, but because she doesn't. He sets his glass down, adjusts his cuff once, and for the first time that night, he moves with purpose, not toward power, but toward dignity. Across the ballroom, away from the noise, a man watches. He doesn't laugh, he doesn't whisper, he doesn't reach for his phone. He stands with a glass untouched in his hand, posture relaxed, eyes sharp, the kind of man people notice only after they realize they should have. Everyone in the room knows his name, not because he seeks attention, but because attention eventually finds him. A billionaire, board-controlled empires, political leverage, media influence measured in silence rather than headlines. Ruthless when necessary, unreadable always. He isn't here for the gala. He's here because he has to be. The board wants reassurance. The press wants a narrative. An inheritance clause, quietly buried in legal language, requires stability. A family image, a wife. Tonight was supposed to be optics, a few smiles, a few photos, a few promises made without saying anything at all. Then he sees her. Not at first. At first he sees the crowd, the way people lean in, the way cruelty circulates like champagne, the way humiliation becomes entertainment when no one expects consequences. Then he sees who they're circling. A woman standing alone, dress stained, back straight. She doesn't defend herself. She doesn't apologize for existing. She doesn't disappear. Most people, when humiliated, either explode or collapse. She does neither. Her face is calm but not blank. Her eyes aren't searching for help. They're focused inward, measuring, containing, control. That's what he notices. Not beauty, not vulnerability, control, the kind that isn't taught, the kind earned through loss. He watches as her ex speaks again, louder now. He watches as the crowd responds on cue. He watches security look the other way, and still, she doesn't move. Something shifts, not in the room, in him. He understands something immediately and completely. She is not weak. She is restrained, and restraint in a room full of predators is dangerous. A message buzzes on his phone. Another reminder from his board. Another request for a public appearance with a suitable partner. He looks back at her. The answer is standing in front of him. Not because she needs him, but because she doesn't. He sets his glass down, adjusts his cuff once, and for the first time that night, he moves with purpose, not toward power, but toward dignity. He doesn't announce himself. No raised voice, no dramatic entrance. He simply steps into her space. Close enough that the noise of the room fades, but not close enough to claim her. The laughter around them continues for half a second longer. Then it dies. People feel it before they understand it. The shift, the pause, the recalculation. She senses him before she sees him. Not fear, not relief, awareness. She turns slightly. Up close, he is quieter than she expected. No forced charm, no smile, just control. Effortless and absolute. He doesn't look at the stain on her dress. He doesn't look at the man humiliating her. He looks at her face, and for a moment says nothing. Then, leaning just close enough that only she can hear, he speaks. Low, even, unhurried. Pretend to be my wife. Just for tonight. The words land wrong, too calm to be a joke, too precise to be a flirt. Her first reaction isn't excitement, it's disbelief. She lets out a breath that almost becomes a laugh. I'm not in the mood for games, she says quietly. Eyes forward. He doesn't flinch. This isn't a game. She studies him now. Really studies him. The cut of his suit, the stillness in his hands, the way the room has begun to watch him instead of her. She understands something dangerous. He isn't offering rescue. He's offering an exchange. She shakes her head once, barely. No. The word is soft, but final. For the first time, his expression changes. Not surprise, interest. Then walk away, he says, and they'll follow you with their laughter all the way to the door. She doesn't answer. And tomorrow, he continues, just as calmly, this moment will belong to them. That's when she looks at him again. Not as a stranger, as an equal. And what do you get? She asks. A pause. Control, he says. For one night. She considers it. Not the room, not the crowd, the power balance. If I agree, she says slowly, there are terms. Now. He smiles, not with his mouth, with recognition. I wouldn't expect anything less. She turns fully toward him. You don't touch me unless I allow it. No lies I don't approve. No using me as decoration. And when this ends, so do we. Silence. Then he inclines his head. Agreed. She takes a breath. Not because she's afraid, but because she understands the cost. She places her hand on his arm. Not clinging, claiming. The room explodes, not with sound, but with shock. Whispers reverse direction. Eyes widen. Phones lift higher. Her ex goes silent mid-sentence. The hierarchy shatters, because in one calm whisper, everything has changed. She doesn't move with excitement. She doesn't smile. She doesn't ask questions that reveal uncertainty. Instead, she straightens her spine, subtle, controlled, and looks at him the way negotiators look across polished tables, not the way women look at saviors. "If we're doing this," she says quietly, "we're doing it correctly." The word correctly lands heavier than expected. He waits, not because he must, but because something in her tone tells him this moment matters. "I won't play a role," she continues. "No arm trophies, no staged affection. I stand beside you, not behind you." The noise of the room feels distant now. This conversation exists in its own gravity. He studies her face, not for beauty but for cracks, finds none. "You'll introduce me by name," she adds. "No backstory I didn't approve. No rewriting my past to suit yours." A pause. "And protection?" he asks. She meets his eyes. "Not from danger," she says, "from disrespect." That's when he understands. She doesn't need him to fight for her. She needs him to set the rules so no one dares cross them. "I won't apologize for existing," she finishes. "And when this ends, no strings, no leverage." The room waits, breath held, though no one knows why. He exhales once, slow, measured, then he nods. "You don't want power borrowed," he says. "No," she replies. "I want power acknowledged." Something shifts behind his eyes. Recognition, not of attraction, of alignment. He offers his arm, not possessive, not performative, an equal gesture. When she takes it, it's deliberate. The whispers change tone, not curiosity anymore, calculation. Because this isn't a woman being rescued. This is a woman setting terms in a room that never expected her to have any. The ballroom's chatter dies mid-laugh. Glasses pause in mid-air. The band falters. All eyes pivot to the entrance. She walks in, not nervously, not apologetically, not as someone who had ever been the victim. She walks in as if the room owes her attention, and beside her, the billionaire moves with calm precision. His hand extended, just enough for the world to know she's not alone. Whispers ripple through the elite. Names muttered, eyes widen, phones are raised, cameras flash. The man who humiliated her earlier freezes mid-toast. He swallows, then another gulp, because he finally sees her. Not the woman he mocked, but the woman who owns the air she breathes. The billionaire's voice cuts through the silent tension. "This is my wife," he announces. No hesitation, no embellishment, no apology. The words land like a hammer. Every whisperer, every smirk, every invisible critic, their energy evaporates. The cameras pan, reporters scribble, social media notifications light up worldwide. She stands tall, regal, unyielding, and suddenly the room remembers. They remember who they tried to erase. They remember who they underestimated. Every former humiliator wants to speak, but the words die in their throats. Because respect is no longer optional. The billionaire doesn't squeeze her hand, he doesn't guide her. He just acknowledges her presence, and that's all she needed. The ballroom hums with tension. No laughter, no polite clinking of glasses. Every eye tracks her. Every mind recalculates. Her ex-fiancé sits rigid, the color drained from his face. He had controlled rooms before, but never like this. The whispers begin again. Not about her, about him. "Did you see the way she handled that? Someone told me he's been cutting corners for years. Board rumors are resurfacing. Reputations that once seemed untouchable now teeter like fragile glass." The elite scramble, shifting alliances mid-gala. Old power networks crumble quietly. Everyone wants to align, but no one knows who really holds authority anymore. She doesn't gloat. She doesn't gesture. She simply exists. And that's the point. Power isn't performance, it's presence. The billionaire watches her, calm, unreadable. A subtle nod acknowledges her mastery of the room. Every humiliator from earlier. They're reassessing their strategy, calculating who's safe, who's expendable. She's not just surviving. She's reshaping the hierarchy. The cameras flash endlessly, capturing every subtle reaction. Social media will explode by morning. Headlines will run. The woman who silenced New York's elite. Billionaire introduces unknown wife. The room freezes. Humiliation turns into power play. In the background, the ex-fiancé shrinks further into his seat. Invisible now. Because real power, as she shows tonight, doesn't shout. It doesn't need validation. It documents itself in presence, in poise, in the pause between whispers. And the room? It collapses silently, elegantly, under the weight of her dignity. The hallway behind the gala is dimly lit. Far from cameras, far from judgment. Her ex-fiancé finds her leaning against the marble wall, untouched by chaos. His tailored suit seems smaller now, his arrogance shrunk to a mere shadow. "Wait! Please!" he stammers. "I need to explain." She turns, eyes steady, voice calm. "No," she says softly, almost bored. "Explain what? How you humiliated me? Or how you thought I'd crumble?" He swallows, words failing him. He had controlled so much, yet he cannot control this moment. I didn't mean... Meaning doesn't matter, she interrupts. You see, it wasn't about tonight, it never was. It was about every time you decided my worth for me. Every time you believed control meant power. Every time you thought I was small. He flinches. Because she's not yelling. She's not begging. She's exposing the truth with precision. You didn't lose me tonight, she continues. You lost me when you thought I was small. Her words cut deeper than any public humiliation could. He wants to argue, to justify, to claim some shred of dominance. But there's nothing left to defend. She steps past him, straight-backed, dignified. No revenge, no gloating, just departure. Behind her, the faint echo of the gala leaks into the hallway. A reminder that while the world watches the spectacle, real strength lives in quiet exits. She doesn't look back. She doesn't need to. They finally find a quiet corner, away from the gala's flashing cameras and whispering elites. He doesn't approach her with charm or flattery. He approaches with calm clarity, measured, deliberate. I chose you, he says simply. She arches an eyebrow. For what? Entertainment, revenge. He shakes his head. None of that. I didn't choose you because you're beautiful, or because you provoke envy. I chose you because you stand upright when others try to break you, because your integrity isn't negotiable, and because you don't bend your principles for approval. She listens, wary, but intrigued. This is not the billionaire she imagined, not the man of power playing games. I've seen countless people bow, lie, compromise, just to survive in my world, he continues. Tonight, you didn't. You didn't need me. You didn't seek validation, and in that you're rare, extraordinary. She doesn't smile. She doesn't blush. She only asks quietly, "And what do you want from me?" He meets her gaze, unwavering. Nothing that diminishes you, nothing that asks you to change. I don't want a wife to showcase or a partner to manage appearances. I want a partner who is equal in principle, courage, and resolve. Her chest tightens. But this is not fear or doubt. This is recognition. Recognition that he values the same things she does. Strength, integrity, autonomy. Mutual respect, she whispers. Yes, he replies. Not control, not rescue, partnership. For the first time that night, she nods. Not submission, not infatuation, understanding, alignment, connection without compromise. He steps back slightly, letting her space, letting her choice. And in that moment, the billionaire's power isn't flashy, and her strength isn't performative. It's quiet, profound, and unshakable. Months have passed. The city lights of New York feel different now. Not dazzling, not intimidating, but familiar. She walks into elite spaces with a confidence that turns heads, but not in the way her ex-fiancé or the socialites once imagined. There is no desperate need for approval, no flinching at whispers or laughter. Sometimes she is alone, owning her presence like a statement. Sometimes she is beside him, the billionaire, but never shadowed, never diminished. The room pauses, not in awe of his power, but in recognition of hers. Those who once mocked her or dismissed her feel a subtle tremor of uncertainty. She doesn't gloat, she doesn't flaunt. She simply exists with undeniable strength.